to the Unofficial Steelers Podcast, the podcast so unofficial it doesn't have a home. Here's your host, from In Hindsight, Nathan Heights. From Steelers Nation Australia, Mark Davison. And from State of the Steelers, Daniel J. Here we go.
G'day guys, welcome back to Steelers Nation Australia, and also welcome back to episode 8 of the Steelers, what are we called? The Unofficial Steelers Podcast. G'day Daniel, mate, what's going on? We have no Nathan today. Nathan is going to Tampa for some reason, and you've come from Texas, and you're in Pittsburgh right now?
Yes, sir. I'm out here in the greater Pittsburgh area, out actually near Mount Washington area, looking over the city. It's it's got here earlier today. Me and the wife went out to Pepe's, had some amazing food, and we just got back. We did a walk around the neighborhood, looked out the view. Pittsburgh's beautiful. I recommend everybody if you haven't come out here for a game or just to visit, it's a must do.
Looks like, man, you're taking it all in, eh? Because I've been there 3 times, crazy enough from being from Australia. I've been there once in 2015, once in 2016 at the end with the Steelers versus Ravens, and then once again with my dad. And it's so crazy to me that you and I have been in the same place, and now we're mates online talking Steelers football. That's what I love about this Steelers stuff. Now, I'm completely jealous. I do love Mount Washington. I've been up there. It's a must every time you go. Now, I've been there a lot in the city where I've walked around pretty much everywhere, but going to Mount Washington is one of those moments where you're like, holy crap, I can see Heinz Field. I can see Heinz Field, and you're like, there it is down there. I used to play Madden games. I used to watch the game on ESPN. And you're there before the big night. Tomorrow night or tomorrow day, 1 p.m., Steelers versus Bucks. What are you feeling right now? Are you excited for this game?
I was a little bit more excited before I found out that Leal was put on IR.
Yeah.
I was a little bit pumped up more. I was a lot more excited before the injury list came out, and the list of the injuries were as long as the views from Mount Washington. It's insane, man. But I'm still excited. As an opportunity to go see the Pittsburgh Steelers. This is going to be Kenny Pickett's first home game as a starting quarterback. He's going to be introduced. I'm sure the crowd's going to go wild for that. I understand that you have the one of the best quarterbacks coming into this game. With a team that is, when you look at them on paper, are kind of stacked, and so it's going to be a tough one, but I'm super excited for it. Win, lose, or draw, I'm a Pittsburgh Steeler, fan to the bone. So, just getting an opportunity to see my team is going to be amazing. I just hope 100%. It's not a 38-3 shellacking.
You don't want to see a whitewash in your own stadium. When you found out Leal, right, was injured, did you feel like this? Did you feel like this or what? 3rd and 10.
Let's see.
In that middle linebacker there.
I'll tell you.
He's going to drop. No, he's going to spy. He's going to spy. Oh, that's a big pass. That's a huge. That's a fucking unbelievable. Is it here? You felt that? Did you feel it now?
Dude, this is right here, dude. This is how I felt.
Hey man, look, I don't mean to toot my own horn or whatever, but I saw you did what you did the other day on the Drunk Turkey show, and it was so funny. It was so funny how you were breaking it down on the Drunk Turkey show. Check out Daniel's podcast as well, the Drunk Turkey show. I'll put it in the comments in a minute. It's like just a Joe Rogan / Pat McAfee, just talking life, stuff like that. And they brought up the video, and they were reacting to my video, and I was like, man, that's funny. Like, that was so funny.
Yeah, we actually kind of not clipped it, but I kept playing that part where you put your face in your hands, and that's going to be a reoccurring theme. Anytime something crazy happens, somebody falls or somebody gets hurt on the videos that we review or talk, we're going to go straight to you, go into your hands, man.
It was tough, and that was one of my best videos ever to date on the channel. 15,000 views. It's still getting about 15 views an hour. The Bills fans love it. Look, but it is tough, and it's what all the Steelers fans are feeling right now. But on the other side, that's why like it's good to see you in Pittsburgh. Yourself and your Your wife is there too, right?
Yes, sir.
You're ready for the game, right? Are you not ready? This game's going to be crazy, man.
Dude, I've been waiting for this game since, well, the last time I was up here was for training camp, and I got rained out on the Friday Night Lights. They didn't happen, so I missed my opportunity to see the Pittsburgh Steelers live in action that time and that day. And so I've been waiting a significant long time to come back out here and witness this. It's just unfortunate that, there's a lot of players that I was hoping to see in this game, like TJ Watt, Mika Fitzpatrick, DeMarvin Leal, those guys, they were really high on my list of, guys I want to see play and participate this week. And it's just unfortunate that's not going to happen. And especially when you look at who the opponent is and the Pittsburgh Steelers taking on Tom Brady, looking at this game, it looks like it's going to be a tough one. But I think there might be a narrow path to victory if the Pittsburgh Steelers play their cards right, so to speak.
So you're saying to me you didn't want to see these guys play? James Pierre, Josh Jackson, Arthur Millette, Quincy Wilson, my mate Trey Norwood, which is, I love the guy, but now I don't. Terrell Edmonds, you didn't want to see those guys play?
I think two of those guys were helping me with my valet last week. I was not expecting them to be out on the field. It's insane, man. Like when you look at Quincy Wilson, Josh Jackson, which, it's funny with Josh Jackson. He was a guy number 16 that I asked you about not too long ago. I was like, hey, who's this dude number 16 on the sideline? And we found out not too shortly afterwards, and it wasn't in the best of manners. But yeah, some of these guys, I have no idea who they are. Quincy Wilson. Who is he?
No idea who Quincy Wilson is. I think he played for New York Giants. We'll go through a list, though. So Steelers secondary on Sunday is meant to be James Pierre, Josh Jackson, Arthur Millette, Quincy Wilson. And you kind of think, like, who's number one? Who's the number one cornerback? Who's going to match up against Mike Evans?
That's going to be Terrell Edmonds. Terrell Edmonds looks like the best cover guy out of that bunch, dude.
But honestly, who's going to be the number one corner out of that list? Like, it's very worrying times. Like the whole Sutton's out, Levi Wallace and Witherspoon and Minka Fitzpatrick. Now I'm not saying we can't win this game, but still, James Pierre's got to step up. All these guys got to step up. Josh Jackson, I believe, was from Green Bay and he's played a handful of snaps with us. Quincy Wilson got activated off the practice squad, I think yesterday or today or whatever, and he'll probably be playing somewhat in there. You'll probably see a lot of Arthur Millette. Right, he might have the best chance to go against some of these receivers, but worrying times, right? I don't know what you're going to see if they want to make a defensive stand and create something like you got Mike Tomlin who's the defensive guy, you got Terrell Austin, cornerbacks coach, Brian Flores. Do they not have to create something out of this? Like, and schematically beat Brady?
They're going to have to, but I'll tell you who I think is going to be covering their number one wide receiver, because I've seen this gentleman cover a number one wide receiver a couple of times this year, and that's one Robert Spillane. And so, that I don't know why, but that might be the guy covering some receivers. And if you see him out there again covering a receiver, it's going to be a long day, guys. But Terrell Austin, Mike Tomlin, Brian Flores are going to have to coach the hell out of this defense if they want to have a chance against this team. Leonard Fournette has been a guy that when the Pittsburgh Steelers are at full strength, have a hard time controlling or handling, much less at this point or at this venture of the game with how many injuries they have. That's going to be tough. Tom Brady has some weapons on the outside. I don't know if Julio Jones is going to be playing, but Mike Evans, I believe, is.
I heard he was out. I heard Julio's out.
Is he out? That's. I don't ever want anybody out due to injury or anything like that. But looking at the injury list that we have, that would be kind of difficult to have Arthur Millette covering Julio Jones there. I don't know if that's going to go in his favor too many times. And so, you have Godwin.
Oh man, Godwin's good. They have some good receivers. Godwin's. We all know Mike Evans is fantastic. Chris Godwin's good, even to a certain degree. Perryman can play some good reps at receiver. I don't know what the health is with Leonard Fournette too. He's a pretty bruising running back. This is going to be a game where I think you guys need to get loud in the stadium. I really do. You're going to have to really go through the adversity of a hard game to get behind the defense to pump everyone up. I know, and even this is going to be looking at their offense with Tom Brady. The only positive I see is that Tom Brady is really old and slow. That's the only thing I see. He's 45 years old. He's going through some really bad times, personal times. So maybe you want to call out Giselle. Just keep
or
going
AB.
I don't know. Tom Brady is 9-3 against the Steelers, so it's going to be really hard. But this is a game where, that next man mentality, next man up. And why can't these guys just got to find something deep within and go and play the best game of their life, don't they?
I mean, they're going to do that. They're going to try to, at least. We just got to hope that their best game of their life is good enough, to this point. James Pierre, he started the year last year, and there was times where he flashed. He had a couple interceptions here and there, but at the same time, he started getting burnt quite a bit. Josh Jackson, I don't know who he is, so I'm not gonna comment too much outside
second round pick. He's been. I don't know him too well either, but he's been injured quite a bit. Second round pick from the Packers. He got cut and stuff like that. He's played with a lot of injuries.
That's right. I remember I looked into him. He's also pretty slow, and I think that was one of the big things that was wrong with him. And another issue why he was getting beat a lot. And if I remember correctly, he got burned pretty bad last week too in the Bills game. And so it's not the best look to, first time out. But if you look last year, Ahkello Witherspoon got burnt a few times early on and then turned it around. So perhaps maybe Josh Jackson, another week, practice under his belt can go out there and perform at a higher level. Terrell Edmonds is a fantastic safety, in my opinion. He is a safety that is very much overlooked and underrated. And so I think that, everybody saw what happened in the last, 6 quarters without him. The Steelers defense didn't look too good. Now, losing Minkah Fitzpatrick, that's freaking huge, man. Like, that was one that I didn't anticipate or see coming, but it makes you wonder, if the Steelers are going to start sitting so many players like this that finished games that could potentially play, you think they're kind of giving up on the season?
I don't think the players give up on the season, to be honest. I think coaching wise, in the back of their mind, they might say, you know what, we're going to rest players like Minkah, like TJ Watt, and when we rest them, you're going to put out the backups, and the backups pretty much can't win you games. So in that way, they're not tanking, but you're kind of like tanking by design, if that makes sense. Say you got an injured guy, then you say, well, TJ's actually more injured than we think, and they would then lie to the NFL and say, you know what, he's going to be out for a long time, and she's like, no, I'm fine. But they might do that, but I don't see them doing that. I think on the game day, I think for you going to the stadium tomorrow, you want to see some competitive play. Otherwise, why do you turn up? It's your home as well. It's a home field advantage for the Steelers. It's Kenny Pickett's first start. I just looked up, and this won't be a Josh Jackson show, but somehow he got a ESPN. He got ESPN. That's where I'm reading the stat from. He got a fumble recovery. I don't even remember. He got a fumble recovery somehow. So I don't know. He was around the ball. Was
that the when Cam knocked it out when they were going into the end zone?
It might be. Yeah, it might be.
I think that's the play where he got it.
Yeah. So it's going to be a tall task for them. But let's move into a bit of the offense too. What are your thoughts about Freiermuth being out? This is going to be tough. Like, that's another guy you can't see, isn't it? Another damn dude.
That one's tough, man.
Can't see.
That one's tough, and I'm a huge Freiermuth fan. I bought his color rush jersey as soon as he got drafted last year. I thought he was going to be a huge participant. And I still do think he's a huge participant in this offense. I'm just glad it's not him and Zach Gentry. Zach Gentry's been a full participant. He's going to be in this game. He's been playing. He's been practicing this week. That's going to do wonders for our running game, because when you look at both Pat Freiermuth and you look at Zach Gentry is the better blocker of the two. And so, in my opinion, at least, when you look at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and where their defense has been, had their issues or they've given up yards has been in the running game. And so having Zach Gentry back out there and helping the offensive line block, perhaps make some holes for Najee Harris, who took out a steel plate out of his shoe, apparently, that he had in there.
Yeah. Wait, talk me through that. What does that even mean? What is that?
I'm guessing it prevented him from bending his feet or having his foot bent in a awkward position, creating more arch or something. I don't know. And it's probably just like having a cast over your thumb or something, or a broken finger. And I'm guessing that just kind of prevented motion. But, he's taking that out. So he's saying he's 100%. That'd be good to see. I know Jaylen Warren's been getting a lot more snaps. He's going to be the third down guy, kind of take off a little bit of that load from him. That's good to see. But one guy that I think needs to have a big day on the ground as well is going to be Kenny Pickett. If you look at the Atlanta Falcons, Mariota, put up some yards against Tampa Bay. And in my opinion, I think that when you look at Mariota, you look at Kenny Pickett, they're pretty close athletically. Kenny Pickett's a little bit overlooked, underrated when it comes to his athleticism. And so I think, he might be able to surprise some people with his legs tomorrow. He's going to need to.
Yeah, well, this is the game that, hopefully Matt Canada and Mike Tomlin can let Kenny Pickett just go out there and play. Don't put him in a situation where you're handcuffing the guy that he can't move the football down the field. You know what I mean? But I think overall, the big problem to me with Najee Harris, it's not the solution of okay, you take the steel plate out, whatever that means, right? That doesn't mean he's back to normal. I still think he's struggling. I still think he needs to find the holes and be more competitive on the play. Now, do I think he's a bust? No, because there's trade rumors out there. I read the other day there was trade rumors for Najee Harris. There's no way they're trading Najee Harris. What are your thoughts on that?
I think that you got it from that one YouTube show that don't know what they're talking about.
I definitely did. Yeah,
I think I know where you got that information.
They chat a bit of rubbish, man. They have no idea. The other day, the guy didn't even know that Jaylen Warren was on the team. I had no idea.
Yeah,
it's like you go into the stadium and thinking you're going to watch the Miami Dolphins versus the Jets. You're in the wrong place.
Yeah, exactly.
No, they won't trade him, but it's still I think we give up on the team and players so fast, don't we? We really do. But I gave up on Trubisky really fast because what I saw was nothing completely. But Najee Harris was he got 1,200 yards last year. Let him get back into it. The offensive line is doing good pass protection, maybe not that well of a run scheme. But if he says he's back to 100% or he's taken that out, maybe it's all in his head. Maybe he just needs to move forward. We need him to play big tomorrow. We need him to get the 100 yards plus, dead set.
No, I agree. 100%. And, as far as the trade rumors go, I mean, I would pick up the phone call. I would pick up the phone, to be honest with you. I'm not saying I'd trade him, but when you look at Najee Harris and you look at the other running backs that are successful out there, there's a lot more burst. There's a lot more speed. You look at Jaylen Warren, he gets up the field a lot faster than what Najee Harris does.
He does. Yeah, he does.
And so, it's kind of, I get it. He's strong. He's a big bruising back and he'll take over games sometimes. And then at the end of the second half, if you're up by a couple scores or you're comfortably in the lead, you would usually think you'd run him. But then again, the Steelers didn't when they were up by 10 against the Jets. So that went out the door. But usually you would think you'd run a bruising back like that, take over the game and really beat down a defense into submission, so to speak. But that's not really the NFL today. That's not what, that's not really what's being ran. And running backs need to be a lot faster. I'd pick it up. I wouldn't lie. I think Cam Akers has been rumored to be requesting a trade. That'd be a guy I'd be interested. But I love Najee Harris. I'm not going to say that oh man, he's a bum or he's this or that. But given where the Steelers got him in the first round and the results to this point he's underperformed. It's just what it is. Whether it's injury related or not, he's underperformed.
To me, man, I'm not even sure if we need to entertain the idea of trade and stuff like that, to be honest. Now, I talked about trading Claypool because I'm just not a big fan of him, but that's more just my personal vendetta against him. Just don't like him. But I don't think we need to trade stuff. I think we just need to get back and playing some football. Like offensively wise, the scheme has been terrible. Why can't you find, holes in the defense or back
Well,
in the day
let me ask you this, Mark. If you could go back to last year, knowing what you know now, would you
Oof.
draft Najee Harris in the first round, or would you get a lineman?
No, I'd probably get a lineman.
Yeah, me
Because
too.
I think you get a lineman because I think anyone can run, right?
Mhm.
Look, Ezekiel Elliott could run behind, like he had the best line in front of him, and I don't think he's that good of a running back. You know
He's
what I mean?
not.
And he was getting 1,000 yards for his first few seasons, and he's very similar to what Najee Harris is. A big guy and slow off the mark, but can power to get 3 or 4 yards. But I would rather see the offensive line take control and charge of the opponents and get a faster back in there like Warren. Am I saying give up on Najee? No way. I'm not saying that. He's one of my favorite players right now because he can go out there and get you 80 yards. But we don't see that big burst. And for a very long time, since Le'Veon Bell, have we not seen a run go for 50 yards? The only one we saw was Najee Harris versus the Browns in dead time when it was 4th and 1 or something when we should have kneeled the game or something like that. And we won the game for Ben. We just don't see those big plays. Now, Jalen Warren, it looks like he is so close to breaking one, right?
Mhm.
He's getting around the first guys, the defensive line, and straight through. But to answer your question, yeah, I would probably say bring an O-lineman. And the Steelers haven't done that. The Pittsburgh Steelers have not done that. Where since 2000, I think 9 or 10 is the first they've used a first round pick on O-lineman, and that's why we're in a bit of trouble now. And you have Kenny Pickett, but you have no real O-line. Now the guys are doing okay, but you have no one really outstanding, in my opinion, right? But I think it comes down to so many things. So there's so many things you can go down to. It's coaching from Tomlin. It's the scheme. It's Matt Canada's offense. It's the willingness to play. It's injuries. But then you say all that, right? You say all that, and Jalen Warren is providing 4.4 yards and a carry. So why not give him reps? He's really killing it. Have you seen him blocking too? He's a fantastic blocker.
Yeah, I think that's probably the best part of his game is the fact that he's a beast. He's knocked a lot of players off the mark. He's knocked them on their butts. He's doing really good. And like I said, you're absolutely right when it comes to giving him a little bit more time. I think he's earned it. I think he's deserved it. But you also have to look at the defenses that they're going up against. Najee Harris, when he's in there, it's like they're keying off on him. You know what I mean? And, I think that's why the Steelers probably should implement a little bit more play action pass with Najee Harris in the game. Because when Najee's in the game and they're doing a motion, especially, like they put a receiver in motion or they do something like that, it's like 80% of the time it's a run. Defenses are keying in on that and they're crashing down. Play action pass would be great in that moment. But, it kind of that's where Matt Canada lacks as an offense coordinator. We've talked before, and I was like, hey, you know what? There's people open down the field. There's running backs that aren't seeing the holes. There's receivers that are dropping the ball. There's also play design that is pretty poor, to say the least, and not creative at all. There was also, like, for instance, I was watching the All-22, and the interception that Kenny Pickett had, I believe they ran the same formation, the same play like 2 or 3 plays earlier.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they had Deontay open. I'm thinking Matt Canada's like, hey, let's run this play again. Deontay's wide open. The Bills saw that crap too,
Yeah.
They're prepared for it the second time around. And so, but you look at it, it looked like they ran that exact play several times. Same formation, same players, same routes, and that's an issue. That is the offense coordinator issue.
That to me is the biggest issue. I think we have all these skillful players. We have George Pickens, Deontay Johnson. Sure, he's dropping it. Claypool should be talented. We have all these guys. Offensively, we're doing okay. Najee Harris, Jalen Warren, Muth is out, but Connor Hayward, and you can't design plays to get them down the field. That to me is the biggest issue. I get I get a bit like sick in the stomach when I hear Matt Canada talk about how, he came out this week and said they only need to improve a little bit. We need to improve a little bit. No. You need to improve a lot. There's no accountability. There's no accountability on Mike Tomlin and Matt Canada. Everyone right now, all the Steelers nation is like, what are you doing, Matt Canada? Like, I'm not a coach, but I see it too, because I saw it last year with Juju or whoever, right? You just see plays and you know where they're going. And our mate Noah Struckbarn, who does all Steelers talk, he talked to me and Owen in the offseason. He said they do motion to just a motion. They motion Claypool and they motion him just to motion him out. There's no real rhyme or reason for him to go over to the left. They do it just to do it, to make it look like they're doing something. And they don't do anything out of it. Claypool also, I saw on Twitter, is running routes, and they're not even real routes. He's legit just running them and standing still and turning to the right like he's jogging like a walk-through practice. They're not excited about this offense. The players aren't. You can tell. They're getting frustrated. We have Kenny Pickett. It's time to create a real offense and go down the field, because in reality, they've scored 15 points a game this year. And I think Matt Canada's averaging like 18 overall in his time. Like, Matt Canada needs to go, doesn't he? Or something needs to happen. I don't know what he needs to do, but it's nothing's going on.
No, I agree. I mean, it's poor, and that 15 points a game this year also counts Minkah Fitzpatrick's pick six. So it's actually, if you look at the offense, it's probably worse. And so there's a little bit of context there too. And not to mention, Minkah Fitzpatrick put the offense on the 1 yard line on another play. And so
he did.
If you take out those two plays, what is Matt Canada doing? But yeah, to answer your question, also when it comes to the motion, just to put them in motion, the biggest and the clearest indication of that is when you have two players go in motion at the same time. And I've seen that happen.
I saw that a few times too.
So many times this year where he's putting, Kenny Pickett, even if whether it's Kenny Pickett or it was Mitch Trubisky, they put a player in motion, and you see both Claypool and Pat Freiermuth get up and move at the same time. That happened a tremendous amount of times. That now that you mentioned that they do it just to do it, that's a big piece of evidence to say that's exactly what they're doing.
The defense sees it, because I've seen it as well last week against the Bills. They motioned, I believe, Claypool and the tight end moved at the same time. And I was like, what are you doing? And then when they motion them, it's almost like, why are you doing it? There's no real reason for it. Are you taking advantage of the linebacker? Are you taking advantage of the defensive scheme? It feels like they're just playing their offense, right?
Well, the main reason to do it is to see if somebody follows them. If they follow him, then it's usually man coverage. So it kind of gives you an idea of what to run. If they don't, then the defense kind of just shifts their position. And then that's also can mean that they're playing a zone. Now, when you do that, also sometimes that'll get the defense to kind of give them a tell as to whether what they're running coverage is, if there's some kind of mix, or if there was a blitz to one side. Now there's a movement, then they might have to shift some things. And so I understand why they do it, but if they're not doing it with, like, for instance, that in mind, right? Because when I've seen them shift, majority of the time they're running the ball. And that, I don't know. I don't think that's as important as when you're trying to decipher the coverage for throwing the ball. You get what I'm saying?
I'm starting to think. I don't know if you know this question, but why wouldn't they? If Kenny Pickett's in there, what style of offense did Kenny Pickett run with Pitt? Could they just not implement the same kind of thing?
I mean, maybe it's just, when it comes to a college offense, it's got to be a lot more complicated. The concepts have to be there as well, because when you're talking college, you're talking to players that are in the developmental stage of their career. They're learning different concepts and why those concepts make sense, things of that nature. And you have a more simplified offense. I think what they're doing is running a freaking college offense out there. It's too simple. The concepts are easy to understand. The defenses are reading what they're doing. It's not imaginative. There's not any creativity whatsoever. And it's just, So, I was watching there's a guy named Trevor who is a friend of mine, and he actually is a offensive coordinator here in Ohio for the Bucky local Panthers. And I was watching his game last night. They had a game last night. They did this little double handoff reverse type of thing. I was like, man, that's more imaginative than I seen what Matt Canada ran, and this is the high school football team. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah. It's just to the point that I think as fans, if you see and you're frustrated with it, and Michael O'Malley says here, Canada is terrible. Tomlin is average at best. Tomlin calls the defense. So his coordinator is fall guy. And look, there's a lot of pressure on Tomlin, 100%, like 100%. Like this team needs to turn around, and I believe they can turn around. But the coaching staff right now has a lot of pressure also because the injuries and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, when you come down to it, the team's allowing 38 points and they're only scoring 3. So there needs to be pressure. Now, I'm not giving up on the season. I still believe that, look, the fire Tomlin debate is like, I talked about it with Maddie the other day on Touchdown Under, right? No matter what you think, fire Tomlin, yes or no, because I think no, and people think yes, it's not really up to us. It's up to the Roonies. And the Roonies, if we can agree on something, the Roonies won't fire Tomlin. They won't do it this year. You know what I mean? So it doesn't matter what we think, left or right or whatever. But
doing that, firing Tomlin after having his first losing season, I mean, you have to understand, right? And I recently watched Channel 7, Ben Roethlisberger and footballing, and it was pretty clear that when he's talked and Ben Roethlisberger's come out in his interviews, it was pretty clear that Mike Tomlin and Kevin Colbert were ready to move on from Ben Roethlisberger, not just last year. I think this has been something that they were ready to move on for a while now. So, when you're an offensive coordinator, when you're a head coach being handcuffed to a player that you don't want by Ben Roethlisberger came out of his mouth, it was the Roonies who wanted him there. And so it is the owners, it's your boss that wants a guy there that you don't want, doesn't fit what you want to do. You can't really be at fault there. That's probably why the Tomlinism came out so often in the last 3 years, which was, have red paint, you paint the barn red. And I think he was referencing to that, he's referencing to Ben Roethlisberger. And so he's been handcuffed with that. They finally got
like, you have what you have. That's all you can do kind of thing.
Right. You can't you have an immobile statue quarterback. You're not going to be running run pass options with your quarterback where the option is him running. That's not going to happen. Ben Roethlisberger was not going to be the running component in that formation of those plays. Now, you saw this with Kenny Pickett. How many times did Kenny Pickett have a sneak already in his short career? Ben Roethlisberger hasn't done that in a while. And so, in my opinion, when you look at that, you look at what Mike Tomlin had to deal with. You look at an aging Ben Roethlisberger. You look at 2019 where they had Mason Rudolph, who got knocked out. Had he not gotten knocked out, I don't think that he has the year he had. I think he plays a little bit better. And, in my opinion, you got a guy that got knocked out. You had Duck, who was a camp arm to start the year. He was still able to coach those teams, all these teams, into playoff contention or a playoff spot. And so every coach has ups and downs. And at the moment that Mike Tomlin has a losing season, if that ends up being the case, because it's still a long season to go, but let's just say that ends up being the case, Pittsburgh Steelers have a losing season. I mean, you can't just give up on your coach just because of one losing season. That's like giving up on your team because the first drive of the game didn't end up in the end zone. You know what I'm saying? It's a process.
No, I agree with you completely. Me and Maddie had a good discussion about this with the fire Tomlin stuff. But let's leave it there for a minute because we do talk about a lot about fire Tomlin, that kind of stuff. I want to talk about in the last 15 minutes or whatever. How do we go and win this game? Because there's a lot of pressure on the coaches, but I'm starting to think, what does Kenny need to do? What does this offense need to do? And me and Maddie talked about it. Is there more pressure on the offense or defense, Daniel, in this game?
Oh, significantly more pressure on the offense because the defense isn't expected to do well in this game.
Who,
And
who
so
who's on the defense?
exactly, Kenny Pickett might be starting in strong safety by the end of the game. I don't know.
Wait, man, that'd be awesome. They should do that.
He might be playing both ways, but nah, man. In my opinion, it's going to be more on the offense, and it's going to have to be the offense to step up because when you look at this defense and you look at Tom Brady, what you're going to have to do is limit their time on the field, and the way you do that is by staying on the field, controlling the ball, maintaining possession of the ball, uh, you know, winning on third down and situational plays that aren't drive killers. And when you do have those 6, 8, 7 minute drives, those have to end up in 7. They cannot be 3 points because this team's going to get behind. And, one of the things that the Buccaneers have, when I watch the Buccaneers this year, they remind me a lot of the Pittsburgh Steelers offensively. You look at Tom Brady, he's throwing the ball out, he's getting the ball out. And they remind me of the Pittsburgh Steelers from 2011. 2021, I'm sorry. Let me rephrase myself. From last year, maybe 2020, where they're throwing the ball short. They're throwing the ball really, really fast. Tom Brady's getting the ball out of his hands in about 2.4 seconds or something like that. Super quick. He's throwing the ball out to the running backs. And they're not scoring very much early on. So Tampa Bay has not scored a first quarter touchdown up to this point. And so if the Pittsburgh Steelers can jump on them, kind of create the same pattern and hold them off a little bit and get on them early and control the clock with the running game, that's probably the narrowest and best path for victory, in my opinion.
Well, it's funny you say they remind you of the Steelers because they actually have two former Steelers. They have Byron Leftwich, as the offensive coordinator. He played with the Steelers for a little bit, and they have Larry Foote as well. Did you know that Larry Foote's over there too? So it's gonna be a reunion. I did some investigating work too. I went and watched some of the Buck stuff and Tom Brady talking, and I saw Larry Foote talking about Tomlin and that kind of stuff. And he's pretty excited to go out there and beat Tomlin. So. And of course, Byron Leftwich, he was a backup for us, right? For some time.
Correct. Yeah, he was Ben's backup.
A year or so or something like that. He was from the Jags, and he's quite intelligent too. So
yeah, I think it was more than a year. He was here for a little bit.
Was it like what 2010 or something like that? I can't remember.
I thought.
Let me look it up.
I thought he was with the Steelers in 2008. When the Steelers won the Super Bowl. I could have swore. I know he was there in 10.
Hey, he wore number 4. He wore I think what's number 4?
Yeah, he wore number 4.
What I can't see it here.
Jordan Berry was the most recent number 4.
Right? For 3 days. You know what? I can't find out when because the NFL.com is the worst site in history. It doesn't give me any stats to what team. Anyways, it does not really matter. But yeah, Byron Leftwich was part of the Steelers. So they're coming back, right? So those guys and Larry Foote too, like he was that defense is so different now, right? Larry Foote's defense, Farrier, James Debo, all those dudes, Lamar Woodley, the defense is different, right? But how else, I want to go back to the offense because this stuff does intrigue me. How is Kenny Pickett, does he need to link up more with Cameron Hayward, with Connor Hayward too? Is he going to have a big game?
I think, yeah, because of the comfortability and the, during the preseason and training camp, Connor Hayward was his tight end that he used a lot. So there's some chemistry there. But I think that the chemistry between himself and George Pickens and that connection needs to not increase, but the targets need to increase to George Pickens' side. I've been saying it for a while. There's no coincidence. I don't believe in coincidences. There's no coincidence in the fact that when Kenny Pickett came in against the Jets in the second half, that he was 5 for 6 on third downs. And on the one that he didn't get, they got a first down on. And in that game, on those drives, Deontay Johnson was targeted less. Versus when you look at the games that Deontay Johnson is targeted more, drive killers happen, man. Whether it's drop passes or him running backwards and not getting a first down because he's trying to do a loop-to-loop type of run or just dropping the ball or being separated from the ball. You go and look at the Buffalo Bills game, Deontay Johnson was targeted the most in that game. I don't find that a coincidence.
Did you know? I read a stat somewhere too that the last game, you speaking of drive killers, Kenny Pickett converted pretty much on all third downs or all the drives, right? That he could. The only ones he didn't convert on were the Chase Claypool drops, the Deontay drops, like, and they were all their fault, and the penalties on the offensive line. So Kenny Pickett is giving them the best chance to go out there and get this football. But that one big drop right through his hands, like, you and I could have caught that. I know I always say that, but no, I legit mean that. If we're running the route, we could have a good chance to get that. And as a paid receiver getting $18 million a year, you have to make that catch.
Right? And it's not like Josh Allen is fucking throwing a steamer at him. You know what I mean? It's Kenny Pickett throwing across his body.
It was a good pass.
It was a good pass, but it wasn't a bullet. It wasn't like a dart. It wasn't any of those things where I'm like, all right, you know what? The guy threw a 100-mile-per-hour fastball and it went through his hands. That's not what happened. It was a good pass, hit him in the hands, and it's a poor job by the receivers.
Yeah, I blame them working with the tennis balls. They some reason work with tennis balls and they work with rugby footballs, and they come to the game day and they can't catch the real American football. You're playing American football, stick to that. George says here, gives a Byron Leftwich update. Had 2 stints with the Steelers, 2008 and 2010, 2012. So had a bit of a backup. So yeah, he's a guy that wants to come back to Pittsburgh, and he obviously, when you
was there in 2008.
Yeah, you want to go and beat your team. That's what you want to do. And Tom Brady's going to be really hard to beat, but the title of this episode is Buck Off Brady. Is there a chance we get to Brady and we make his life even worse hell than what he's going through now?
That's going to be tough, man, because he gets the ball out pretty quick, and our pass rush really hasn't been the same since TJ Watt has been out. I don't think the Steelers are going to get to him very often. I think he's going to get the ball out, but it's going to be about containing and keeping everything in front of the Pittsburgh Steelers. And if they can do so and create long third down and longs and get off the dang field. That's another thing, man. How many of these third and longs are the Pittsburgh Steelers going to allow the other team to convert? I think the further the distance is on third down, the more worried I am. Like that's insane, man.
I've been talking about this theme for like the last 2 or 3 years. It's like, 3rd and 13, 3rd and 14, and they let it happen. Our team must be the only one in the NFL. Like, we're nervous. We're good on 1st and 2nd downs, 2nd and 12, 1st and whatever. We're good for that. Come down to a 3rd and 8, 3rd and 9, 3rd and 10, anything like that. It's like get nervous. They play off, don't they? They play off. They're not exciting like that unless Renegade plays. They're not playing physical. 3rd down completion for the Steelers right now. Wait a minute. So defensive wise is they've allowed 46%. That's pretty bad.
That's really bad, dude. I mean, not even there's one of them that they didn't allow. It was against the Jets where it was like 3rd and 18 and they allowed them to get like 16 yards or something like that. And they went on a 4th down and they got the 4th down. And I was like, well, that sucks. I mean, I guarantee if it was like 4th and 12 or 4th and 15, they're not going for it in that situation. But you allow them to gain, you allow the Jets to gain majority of the yards. Man, it's no brainer. I mean, shoot, I would be trying for it even at 4th and 15. It's not like they can stop them at 3rd and 20.
I saw that play. And it was, I don't know who it was, but it was about a 3rd and 18. They got back like 16 yards. And you're like, how? How do you allow the middle? I think it went to the middle of the field. I was like, but I've seen it all my life, like the last few years, probably since about like, I reckon 2017, 20, whatever, or maybe, since LeBeau's gone or whatever, the defense can't get off the field. And that's part of our problem. They can't stop the run. They can't get off the field. And maybe it does fall on Tomlin if Tomlin's, taking care of the defense. But let's get into some predictions and overall thoughts. What are your predictions for the game? I know you're going tomorrow. You're going to be really excited, which is awesome, by the way. But what do you think is going to happen? And who's going to win?
Well, last week I predicted the Bills to beat the Steelers. It was the first time I've ever predicted the Steelers to lose, and I'll be honest, man, I felt so dirty. I wanted to shower twice. And so this week,
you picked the Bills, did you?
I did pick the Bills.
Yeah.
I thought the injuries were too much on the defensive side, and sure enough, I think they were. This week, I don't think that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are as dynamic as the Buffalo Bills, especially offensively. I think they got some skilled players. They have some weapons, but they're not to the same level. I think the Steelers can keep this one close. I'm going to say the Steelers win this game because going 1-5, that's just can't happen. That just cannot happen. And so the Steelers win this game 27-24 just based on the fact that they have no choice but to win this game.
Yeah, I'm gonna. Why am I writing in caps lock? Holy dooly! Sorry to yell at you. Let's get the scores. So I've been thinking about this. I haven't really made my mind up yet. I actually do think the Bucs will win, and because I thought the Steelers had a chance last week to upset, the Bills, and they got shellacked. Now I hope I'm wrong, but I actually think that the Steelers lose this game. I think because Tom Brady's going to kill it with that secondary's pretty poor. And the offense isn't showing me anything. They show me spurts, but they can't. Matt Canada's just not shouldn't be an offensive coordinator for the NFL. I actually believe it's going to be 34-24. I think we score some points in this game, but they're going to try and play renegade to get you guys pumped up. But ultimately, it's going to fail down to a 10-point victory to the Bucs. Now, I hope I'm wrong. I'm not even sure.
The Steelers are going to need renegade from the kickoff, bro. Like 4 times every quarter. Every quarter is going to be. It's going to be the first time the Steelers ever play renegade 4 times in a game.
I heard it twice at Steelers vs Ravens Christmas Day. We heard it twice in the fourth quarter. You might hear it twice. You may hear it twice
before the half. I'm telling you, because after halftime. If we hadn't heard it yet, then we're probably too far behind.
Like, oh, again?
Yeah, the fans are going to start singing it every time Tom Brady comes out.
Hey, man, look, awesome doing the show with you on the Steelers official unofficial, not official. We're not official at all. See, with that unofficial, I stuffed it up. The Steelers unofficial podcast. I'm hosting today. Hey, man, just want to say, also thanks to everyone in the chat for coming checking us out. Big game tomorrow. But, man, I hope you enjoy the game. And you told me before that that Brittany going to the game, a lot of pressure. She's 5-0.
That's true.
That's insane.
She's not seen them. She's not seen them lose. There's been a couple close games. Last year, the Steelers almost screwed it up against the Broncos, but Justin Pierre interception at the end of the game, maybe a repeat. And then
yeah, you mean Justin Lane?
I mean James Pierre. Wow.
Oh.
Hey man, they play the same. You know what? Maybe we need to combine forces, Justin Pierre, and they'll be a good cornerback. James Pierre interception at the end of the game. And then the second game was against the Seattle Seahawks, where TJ Watt strip sack in the game. So in overtime. So we went to those games. We also went to the Cowboys game during 2020 season in Pittsburgh, and then there was another one, and then I can't remember the other one, but there was the other one I remember is the Arizona game with Duck. And so all those games, the Steelers weren't like favored or anything. So,
right.
It was Duck versus Kyler Murray. It was, maybe the ones last year, I think the Steelers might have been, but some of the other ones they weren't. And so perhaps, maybe, taking the wife out there, she goes 6-0, hopefully.
6-0, man. That'd be insane. Just don't tell the crowd that stat, because they'll be chasing her out. They'll be chasing her out with pitchforks and torches, man.
No, well, if the Steelers win tomorrow and they find that out, we might get tickets bought for us for every game.
They'll put her in the VIP section. They'll put her next to Matt Canada. They'll be like, just rub his shoulders or something. They'll put a hand on his shoulder.
Push him down. Not just playing. But
just a quick elbow.
You're right, exactly. Just knock him out, and then you can call the plays, babe. Don't worry about it. I'm sure you'll do a better job.
Imagine that. Imagine if there was that involved with fans could call the plays, and that'd be cool. if like you get up there and say, you know what, it's Daniel J's time to get up there and start going plays.
Well, isn't that what Terrell Owens did? That fan control league?
that was like fan. I think it was fan football, but it was like indoor football or something like that.
Yeah, it was like arena ball.
Anyways, well, enjoy the game, man. It's going to be a great game. I reckon you'll be pumped up. I reckon you guys go through the festivities of the tailgate, stuff like that. It's 1 p.m. game, so you guys can get your drunk turkey on. You're drinking the beers before. Enjoy the game. It's Tom Brady. I think we have a chance because Tom Brady's playing, to be honest. I think he's a bit older and slower than we think. Will it come down to a Highsmith sack on Tom Brady and hopefully no one throws a flag? I need to control my emotions tomorrow, or maybe I won't, because if I put out another live reaction of Tom Brady flag, I will get over 1 million views. If people see me lose my shit with the Tom Brady flag, what happened to the Falcons guy, that would blow up. I would be Mr. Beast material.
I think I'd get arrested for jumping on the field if something like that happened and Tom Brady got a flag. I'm like, I'm going to show you unnecessary roughness.
You go out there and grab him like James Debo on the fan and just go, ugh.
This is unnecessary roughness, man. Like, like it's insane how much or why that referee felt the need to throw the flag just because he complained to him. So,
yeah, we need to look. I know that the fans were booing, I think, the Chiefs, and he started to cry the other day. There could be a possibility the Steelers fans may boo these refs because, let's be honest, the Tom Brady and the refs always get a bit more help. Hopefully it doesn't happen. I'll have a clean game, but I can see a few calls. And, of course, the Steelers got to face that adversity. They've got to go in saying, well, we're not going to get every call. There's going to be one where they touch Brady here or touch him on the face, and there's going to be a flag. Something's going to happen crazy like that. And it's going to annoy us 110%. I'm already expecting a flag to come out. I think he just got flagged now going through the airport. He got touched, he got flagged for that. Anyways, man, I'll see you in a bit after this show. Thank you, everyone, for checking out the Unofficial Steelers Podcast. It's a really good show. I believe we'll be back on your channel next week, right?
Yeah, I think so. We're going to be aiming probably for Tuesday. Maybe move it to Wednesday because that's when I'm flying back.
Yeah, no worries.
But we'll talk about that later. But we'll let everybody know exactly what day we'll be doing it. But it'll be on my show next, State of the Steelers. Please go out there, find me, subscribe. I'm giving away 2 tickets to the Steelers versus Vegas Raider game to a subscriber. So you still have time to get entered into that. I think we're giving away those tickets on October 30th.
And it's a few weeks away. Anyways, guys, enjoy the game. Thanks, Daniel, mate. And here's our intro/outro with this sick music.
Welcome to the Unofficial Steelers Podcast, the podcast so unofficial it doesn't have a home. Here's your host, from In Hindsight, Nathan Heitz. From Steelers Nation Australia, Mark Davison. And from State of the Steelers, Daniel J.